Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Normally on this channel, as you know, I analyze the natal charts of people who have committed quite serious crimes. But astrology can also be fascinating when we look at mayhem in the lives of public figures. So, minor true crime, for instance. So, when I saw the news about Britney Spears getting a DUI last week, I thought it might be fun to take a look at what was happening astrologically for her. So, there was a lot happening, as it turns out. So, I'm going to take you guys through what was happening for her with the lunar eclipse, Mercury in retrograde, and the transits at the time, and how I think that all of that coincided with her getting a DUI. And while I'm at it, I'm also going to mention some aspects I see in her natal chart that I think are quite fitting, very interesting psychologically, and curious. So, this is not going to be a full deep dive into her natal chart, but more or less what was happening for her last week and what this all has to do with astrology. So, first of all, this is not her first arrest involving driving. Apparently, she was charged with a hit and run in a parking garage on October 16th, 2007, when there was another period of Mercury in retrograde going on. So this is significant because when a unique event happens during one period of Mercury in retrograde, it can happen again during a future Mercury retrograde period. And why is this? So many people think of Mercury in retrograde simply as delays in communication or strange chaotic energy. And while that can definitely happen, Mercury in retrograde is also about repeating the past. So old conversations may resurface. People from your past may reach out to you. Decisions that were not fully resolved may need to be revisited. So, for example, her driving incidents, her arrests for driving, astrology would interpret this happening twice into Mercury retrograde periods, not as simply bad luck, but more as a moment where the past resurfaces and it gives her another opportunity to see something more clearly or to make different decisions and to really learn from it. Now, her chart was also hit pretty hard by the lunar eclipse that happened this past week, which actually happened on March 4th, the same day as her arrest in this case. So, first of all, the moon was making a square to her sun in the third house. And with an eclipse, what we are looking for is a 5-degree orb. So the moon was at 12, we are looking for is a 5-degree orb. So the moon was at 12 degrees of Virgo at the time of the lunar eclipse, and with her sun being at 10 degrees of Sagittarius, this is definitely in orb of being a square. So what is a square exactly? This is an aspect between two planets when the energy of one planet is bumping up against the energy of another planet, and there is conflict that ensues. So the moon is actually sitting right on her 12th house cusp here because the 12th house cusp starts at 13 degrees of Virgo. And this is making a square to that sun in Sagittarius in the third house. I find it very fitting that she was driving at the time since the third house is all about communication and short-term travel, or I should say, short distance travel. So it definitely involves driving. And the moon hitting the cusp of her 12th house would have to do with loss of control, unconscious behavior, or self-undoing. Whereas this sun in Sag in the third wants freedom and expansion in areas involving third house themes, like driving. So we can see how the clash of these two planets really kind of set the tone for what happened with her here. Now, also, Saturn is at 2 degrees of Aries right now in the transits. And it was at 2 degrees of Aries on the day of the lunar eclipse. So that would mean that that transiting Saturn would have been right on her descendant. The descendant is the cusp of the seventh house right here. And this cusp makes a square to her midheaven. So Saturn here, in my mind, would represent the police, authority, whoever came in to arrest her. And it stirs up all this media controversy and has an effect on her public image, her reputation, which has to do with this midheaven. So this is a really perfect example of a square happening here with Saturn. Now, I do just want to say, I feel like she's already a pretty erratic driver anyway, because she has these planets in her third house. So Neptune in the third house, for instance, this could make for a driver who's not very conscientious. They could lose track of the road. They could be someone who drifts into other lanes without noticing it. They could be like, whoops, I missed my exit. I have to turn around. That could be quite common. So they're not going to be as present when driving. Coupled with that, she does have Uranus at 0 degrees of Sag, so in the third house. So this could definitely symbolize erratic or fast driving. She also has Mercury conjunct the Sun in the third house. So I'm guessing she probably kind of likes to drive. This is someone who enjoys self-expression. This is part of what makes her a good performer, a good singer. I think that the planets in this house could also account for all of her bizarre social media posts where she's basically just dancing to music and doing things that make no sense. I think she probably took down her Instagram page based on what happened because I did look for it and I couldn't find it. So that would make sense. But anyway, the planets in this house want her to communicate to others and to express herself, but she does so in a strange and confusing way at times with these videos. That's been going on for a long time now. And with that Neptune in the third house, there could be times she posts videos without even knowing it. Like, I imagine maybe she's just messing around with her phone and she pushes a few buttons, and then all of a sudden some stuff she recorded for fun winds up on her channel without her even really being conscious of it or really noticing it. Okay, so back to the eclipse hit. So the moon at the time of the lunar eclipse was also making an inconjunct to her moon at 12 degrees of Aquarius in the fifth house. And this moon is also ruling her midheaven because it's in Cancer. So with the lunar moon making it inconjunct to her natal moon, she's going to have to give something up as it relates to her public reputation. What this kind of says for me is that she can't just go on making choices about drinking or using substances and driving and not think that that could affect how the world sees her. She probably has gotten away with it before, but on this day with this eclipse hit, because eclipse hits can be quick and shocking, much like the planet of Uranus, it is on this day at this time that she winds up crashing into the reality of this inconjunct, right? She can't just do whatever she wants with substances, put herself at risk, put the community at risk, and have a flawless public reputation. It's just not going to happen. And that is the nature of an inconjunct. It's two planets that have that are in signs that have absolutely nothing in common with one another. So something is going to have to be sacrificed. Something is going to have to be let go of because someone is not going to get what they expected. Now she has Pluto conjunct Saturn in the first house of her natal chart. So this is someone who really feels pressure around being judged and scrutinized. I think that she could feel so much pressure around expectation regarding her identity that she could collapse or she numbs out by doing drugs or drinking, representative of Mars in the 12th house. And her reputation is then ruined, Pluto in the first, or her identity, something about her identity breaks down. She then has to use Saturn to help her rebuild again. So I think, of course, what's going on with her now is part of a repeating pattern. She's pretty used to this destruction and having to rebuild in terms of her identity and her public persona at this point. Also, I think that the DUI was really meant to be a lesson for her. And I say that not only because of what I talked about with Mercury and retrograde, so something else is happening as a way for her to really, perk up and listen to the universe, but Chiron is at 24 degrees of Aries right now, and it was at 24 degrees of Aries on this day. So it's approaching an opposition to her natal Pluto. Chiron is our wounded healer. This is what illuminates for us old psychological wounds, and it illuminates what we have the opportunity to help heal in others who have had similar traumas. So I do see this DUI as a teaching moment for her in terms of needing to heal something within herself. This is a situation that revealed a self-destructive pattern, Pluto conjunct Saturn in the first, and a confrontation with something quite psychologically intense, which represents Pluto. The only other thing I'm going to say about her birth chart, and this is more so because it really interests me and I have some questions about it. So if you know more about Britney Spears, definitely chime in on this. But I think it's really interesting that her North Node is in Cancer in the 10th house. To me, what this means is that she could be looking to create her own family out in the world, kind of get away from her family of origin. Now, her South Node is in the 4th house, and it's in Capricorn. It is conjunct Venus as well, which I'm going to get into, but South Node in Capricorn in the fourth, I think is quite fitting because she became an entertainer and a performer at such a young age. So I kind of see this as like, she was burdened with a lot of expectation and responsibility at a young age. And I think that could have stabilized her family. She was bringing money in for the family. She could have felt like love from her family or making the family happy was tied to her achievement. And again, this is something that with the North Node in Cancer in the 10th, this lifetime wants her to get away from. So she does have to somehow separate herself from her family of origin, but she has Venus conjunct her South Node. And that is going to make it more difficult for her to change her habits. Also, I am struck by the fact that Saturn conjunct Pluto are in Libra, and Libra owns this Venus and the South Node. So this tells me that she's supposed to have power and to take responsibility for her own life. But I feel like she could have a tendency to give her power away to her family. So I think going through the lawsuit and having her father removed as her conservator was definitely a good thing for her astrologically. But I wonder if she still relies on them, her family, to some extent. The South Node, especially when it's conjunct Venus like this, could be very alluring for someone. I mean, the South Node in general, it is difficult for us to move on from because the South Node, it's what we know, it's what we're comfortable with, it's where we go to feel safe. So it's like a cozy blanket. So when you have Venus conjunct your South Node, it can make it even more enticing and even more like alluring to just kind of um to just get back with it, to not try and do new things, but just go back to family, go back home. So, does anyone know what is going on with her family? Because as far as I knew, I didn't think I kind of felt like she had excommunicated herself from them, but I would be surprised if that is the case given what I'm seeing here. So, let me know, those of you that know her more, know about her life, because I am really curious about that based on her chart. So that is the end of my video, and if you've made it this far and you're new here, welcome. Thank you so much for watching. Please do like and subscribe if you are into true crime and you're into astrology, or you want to learn astrology as it relates to criminal behavior or true crime. If you are already a subscriber and you're a frequent flyer here, let me know what you think about this video. I know a lot of you want to see more about, like the serial killers, and I am so into that as well. I'm definitely going to keep doing that, but does something like this interest you? What do you think about this video? Also, any questions about anything here? If anyone wants to bring up something else in the chart, please do. Like I said, I didn't set out to really do a deep dive here as I normally do because she's not, this is not someone, um, she committed a misdemeanor. I mean, she's not someone who I would think of as a criminal. But yeah, let me know what you guys are seeing. I love to hear from you. I love comments and people who want to chime in. I really value everyone's opinions. So if you have thoughts, please do add them because I want us all to learn from each other. So that is it. And please stay tuned for my next video. As always, thank you so much for watching. And I hope everyone has a fantastic start to their week.